Hello, and welcome to Metaphysical Millennial. I'm Jenna Rae, your host and spiritual big sister. This podcast is a cozy corner of the cosmos for the weird, wise, and wonderful, where we explore all things magical, mystical, and metaphysical, with soulful curiosity, glittery wonder, and an open heart. My mission is to hold space for your spiritual journey and guide you back to your truth, to help you feel seen, supported, and connected as you reclaim your power and remember who you really are. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let the magic find you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first date night segment of Metaphysical Millennial. I have Crash and Hunter here with me today. Welcome. I think that for our first date night segment, we should tell everyone how we met and a little bit about our story.
I agree. I think that's a good idea.
So Hunter and I met about 10 years ago, right? About 10 years ago now.
About 10, 11 years ago. I worked at a retail grocery store, had worked there for a couple years. And then I saw this incredibly beautiful young girl get transferred there named Jenna. Um, for me, it was love at first sight. I was very, very attracted to her. I only spoke and worked with her a small handful of times here and there over the course of, what was it, like a month?
Yeah, I
Two
think I was
months?
there for a month. I was training for a new position. So I didn't remember Hunter. Um, we ended up working together several years after we had originally met. And we had worked together for a couple of months before I realized that I had met him before. It's kind of silly. I forget what he said, but he said something that triggered my mind, and I'm like, oh wait, this is that kid that I was talking to in the meat department about whatever. When I did remember you, I remember feeling really comfortable with you and open, and I remember talking your head off. I
I
remember.
remember that. Not in a bad way. I do remember that, though.
So we met and then met again several years later. But we weren't really close. It was 2020 when we started to become really close and really get to know one another.
Yeah, like right around the pandemic
Yeah,
starting, somewhere around there.
like 2020-ish.
Yeah.
Music brought us together. I guess it's not super odd. Music brings a lot of people together, but I had a little pop thing on the back of my phone that had a music artist's logo on it, and Hunter was like, "Oh, what's that?" And then I was like, "Oh, this kid's kind of cool."
I remember that moment very vividly in my head because I'm into metal, I'm into EDM. I remember it was like an EDM artist, and you presented, like every day at work, presented this very polished, refined, professional, buttoned up persona and personality. And in my head, without knowing anything about you personally, I'm like, oh, there's no way this girl would listen to EDM or metal or anything kind of counterculture. And I saw that, and a light bulb went on in my head. I'm like, wait, is this person actually super cool? And I
Obviously. Okay.
and I asked you about
How
it,
did you ever question that?
and you good point. But you confirmed. You're like, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite artists. And yeah, I remember every conversation after that, slowly but surely. This person kept rising up on the cool meter in my book, for lack of a better analogy.
So fast forward, and we're getting closer. We start talking about life, music, and work. At that time, I was having a moral issue with the company that I was working with. I confided in you a lot. You were this kind of safe place that I could express what was going on in my mind, and you would dissect it and give me your insight in a very non-biased way. Then the conversations started going from that to a little bit more spiritual and trying to understand more about metaphysics and the world around me and just all sorts of different things. And we very quickly, I felt like, became best friends.
Very, very quickly. I was very surprised. I guess not like terribly surprised, but at the same time, yeah, very surprised. I don't know. I look back to like other past relationships, let alone just friendships, and it's very uncanny how quickly we clicked. And I remember just walking past you and saying hi after we started becoming more and more friends. I'm like, oh wow, I feel like I've known this person for much longer than I've been close with them.
Right. That's how, it was very familiar.
Yeah.
After I realized that I had met you several years before.
After I told you, after you're like, hey, it's nice to meet you again. I was like, oh no, you've worked with me before. We've this is not our first time working together.
It felt like we had known each other in some other capacity other than meeting at a prior store that we were working at. And
Yes.
the more that I've gotten into metaphysics and understanding spirituality and the different metaphysical concepts, it brought to light that maybe we did know each other in a different past life, or had made a soul contract that we would meet again in this lifetime.
So there's, I guess, a few different frameworks where you could go about approaching this. Soul contracts is probably one of the more popular ones. The idea of a soul contract, or the concept of it, is basically in the game of life, there are all sorts of decisions and obstacles and pathways that you can and will take. Since energy can't be created or destroyed, we were all existing before this life, before we were born into these bodies here. And during that point in that process, right before birth, we kind of looked at the game board of life, so to speak, and we made agreements with certain people, uh, in terms of lovers, in terms of friendships, family members, people that we would meet later in life that would have something to offer us or a lesson to teach us, or vice versa. But during this point, we make almost sort of like a binding soul contract where it doesn't matter what happens in the game of life. I will find you at this point or that point, somewhere along our pathway, and we will meet and connect and, yeah, continue with the game of life in terms of offering each other, lessons to learn, whether that be good or bad, love, betrayal. I do believe I subscribe to the idea of soul contracts. It is just so unmistakably undeniable, especially when I look at people in my life who are in relationships. To me, in my head, it's like there's no way these people didn't have some type of agreement,
Right.
some type of handshake deal before coming into the game of life, where they said, okay, like, I am going to learn the most from you. My soul is going to grow and evolve the most being with you. My consciousness and my mind are going to expand to the highest degree possible being with you and having your presence in my life for however many years, for the last entire half of my life, or even more than that.
So, would you say that a soul contract is fate?
Yes, for lack of a better term.
So, no matter what happens in someone's life, it's all leading them to these contracts that we've made. So, a soul contract doesn't necessarily need to be a lover. It could be your parents. It could be your best friend. It could be someone that said something to you one time and it impacted you so much that you changed your life completely or evolved in some way. And that was the contract that you made. It could be one person that shared a look with you that made you change your way of thinking. So it's not always as heavy as a love relationship. I would think that each person would have your core soul contracts, right? Your parents, the people that you're in relationships with, best friend, those really immediate people. But then I think there's also another level of soul contract that is important as well, where it could just be a small interaction. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to mean like just friendships, just relationships, or just who you decide is going to be your family, like what family you decide to be born into. assuming if that is how that works. It could be even seemingly insignificant or seemingly trivial things. Like, yeah, just somebody giving you a look across the room at a concert for 10 seconds, and it changes this tiny little thing in your brain or flips this tiny little switch that makes you do something else seemingly insignificant, but all of these tiny, tiny little microscopic, nano microscopic decisions will eventually lead you to where you're supposed to go or whoever you're supposed to be with in terms of those soul contracts that you have.
Right.
So seemingly meaningless, insignificant things in life, if you subscribe to this soul contract idea that there is no such thing as a meaningless or an insignificant thing in your life, everything has some type of pull on the ebb and flow of your life and where you're supposed to go,
Right.
where you're supposed to end up.
So is the idea of a soul contract different from like the red string idea?
So there's so much overlap between those two ideas. For those who don't know or have never heard of like the red string theory, basically there is a lot of overlap with the soul contract theory. Um, I think red string theory tends to lean a little more towards romantic and like soulmate kind of relationships. But simply put, the red string theory is wherever you go in life, whatever you do, no matter how many people you meet, no matter what decisions or choices or pathways that you decide to take at any point throughout your life, there is this invisible red string that is connecting you with the person or people necessarily potentially that you are supposed to be with or end up with. Like I said, heavily leaning towards like romantic soulmate kind of relationships. To me, there's a lot of things that I've come across, like on the internet especially, that really, really send this home for me in terms of me believing this is real. One in particular is there's this really old 1980s photo of this guy in Japan, and he had his friend take his picture while he stood in front of a statue, and there was this woman in the background, a complete total stranger, had no idea who she was, and 20 years later, he ended up dating and marrying that stranger.
That's wild.
He had no idea that that person that he was marrying was that person in the photo until like 5-10 years into their marriage. They went back and looked at that photo and it's like, wait, I was there that day. I'm literally that stranger in the photo behind you. 20 years before this moment, before we ever even met, we were just kids. We had no idea who we were. To me, that is just statistically, mathematically very, very wild, very, very improbable, like statistically extremely unlikely, which kind of, I guess, to me lends credence to synchronicity and the red string theory being true. I mean, what are the chances of that?
Right.
That's very, just very improbable.
I mean, they both didn't live in that area. They were both just visiting. That's
Right.
really crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, we both live in this town and we're gonna
Right. Like obviously you'll probably run into each other at the Walmart, right? But
right.
to be sightseeing and have a photo taken and then 20 years later be in a love relationship, that's just crazy. Very like how, you know?
Yes, crazy to the highest degree.
So where did the red string idea come about? Do you know?
I actually don't know.
I wonder.
Red string theory, where did it come from? Or the red thread of fate.
So the red thread of fate.
So here, the red string of fate or red string theory originates from East Asian folklore, specifically Chinese mythology. It's a belief that an invisible red cord connects people who are destined to meet and impact each other's lives, regardless of time or circumstance. This thread is often associated with the deity of love and marriage, who ties the thread to those meant to be together.
So where did the idea of soul contracts originate then?
Let's see here. The concept of soul contracts originates from spiritual and metaphysical beliefs, suggesting that souls make agreements before incarnating into a new life to learn specific lessons and fulfill certain purposes. This idea is not rooted in mainstream religious or scientific texts, but rather in various esoteric and New Age philosophies. Okay, so soul contracts seems to be, like etymologically speaking, kind of more of a New Age interpretation or more of a New Age approach to something like the red string theory.
Or the red string of fate, or what?
Or the red thread of fate.
The red thread. That's really, say that 3 times fast.
Red thread of fate.
The red thread of fate. Bloody Mary. So I think that we had a soul contract.
That was going to be my other example.
So I think that it's very crazy that we met for that one little month in retail, and you were in college living your life but working in a totally different city than where you were living and going to college. I was training in a totally different city that I wasn't tied to in any way, and then after many, many years, got promoted multiple times, and you just happened to land at my store. And it's like, it was this little tiny store. It wasn't a big store that needed help. It was just kind of the natural succession of both of our careers at that time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I was transferred out to a different store, and then you were transferred to that store as well. And that's when we became close. And then being best friends for many years before we leveled up.
Leveled up.
And it took forever. Hunter would not kiss me. He was very nervous. So it took a while. I was like, man, I would talk to my best friend and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't think he likes me. This is crazy. Am I crazy? I swear there's something here, but he won't kiss me. What's going on? Like, he doesn't even like me. Like, he just thinks I'm a friend. He doesn't even like me. I don't know what I'm thinking. What am I supposed to do with this? I care so much about this person and I don't want to lose him in my life because he's my best friend. But also I have these other feelings that are so strong, but don't want to discuss them with him because I didn't want to fuck it up. I don't know. Yeah. That was a whole very slow burn. It was like watching a rom-com and the 2 main characters never getting together, and after the 3rd and 4th season you're like, okay, I'm kind of like gonna give up watching the
show. Let's, I guess, just touch on something else pertaining to that. Jenna would try her hardest to work up the courage to tell me something, like over
we're gonna talk about that. Okay.
Over text, over Snapchat. But this funny thing would happen where she would gather up all this courage, like, yes, all right, I'm doing it, I'm sending it. I'm gonna be like, so hey, I have a thing for you, or I'm attracted to you, I have feelings for you. She wanted to say something like this, and she would type it. She would type it over socials, and then I would go to check what the new message was, and it would say, Jenna deleted 7 chats.
I don't know. I can't spell.
So I'd be like, okay. In my silly, dumb, stereotypical guy brain, I'm like, I know that this has to be what's going on. She has to be trying to say something to me.
He didn't know anything.
And was super nervous about it. Or do I listen to the other voice in my head, which is like, Hunter, she is way out of your league. Way too pretty, too attractive, too polished, too buttoned up. She makes more money than you. Like, she is just a fully, completely put together human adult and the most beautiful person on the planet.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too. But For me, that was like a huge obstacle to overcome, like that voice in my head, because I don't think I'm not attractive. Like I don't think I'm Brad Pitt, but I'm not ugly.
So you had a limiting belief that you didn't deserve to be with someone that actually had their stuff together, or
It's I wouldn't even say that. It's just that voice, that shadow voice was so loud in my head. On top of just being a normal human with normal anxiety. Um I love the way I look, I love the way I am, I love my body, I love everything about me, but I don't want to be not humble at the same time. I don't want to have such a big, hugely inflated ego and think that I could date out of my league because for the longest time, I put you on this huge invisible pedestal of.
which is also a scary place to be because when you're on a pedestal like that, you feel like all you can do is fall. So that's a very scary place to be also. I'd rather have some wiggle room to be able to level up than only be able to stumble from your expectations.
Right, exactly.
Have I done that?
You've definitely leveled up. Me and Jenna were just talking about when she came into the room before we started filming. She's like, Hunter, I feel like you fall in love with me again every day. And I'm like, welcome to the conversation. Yes. Hello.
I do though. I'll just notice this little glimmer in your eye, and I'm like, oh, it's really sweet. Crash. For those of you that are listening and not watching, Crash is our dog who is less than a year old. He has a lot of separation anxiety. So I knew that recording this episode would be a little chaotic, especially for our first date night segment with him in the picture. But I think it would be worse if he wasn't here. So this is the reality of date night for Hunter and I.
Yeah, date night and having a little pup.
So soul contracts, the red string of fate, right? Yep. I wonder if are pets included in those? I feel like they are because they're a soul.
Yeah, it's consciousness. You would just be born in any body, like a spider, a dog, a monkey, a gerbil, and you'd be like, oh, this is the human form.
Mm-hmm.
We're all made of the same sacred geometry, like our hairline, the fingerprints on our fingers, the way our bones and our bodies are structured. It's all based on Fibonacci spirals in the golden mean, which is phi ratio. Everything is a perfect mathematical ratio, and we're all kind of unique snowflakes in terms of certain features of ourselves go above or below that 1.618 phi ratio. But yeah, you could certainly argue that pets fall into that too. I've seen a lot of things. This isn't necessarily based in anything scientific. I don't know how you would scientifically prove anything like this anyway to begin with, but a lot of people think or have theories like your pets were like children that you were supposed to have or something like that, but you didn't decide to have them in this life or a previous life, so they came to you as a pet, like our Crash. I think that's a really fun idea and concept to play around with.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've had so many pets that have meant so much to me and hold such a special place in my heart that I feel like it's almost. I remember telling you at work once that Bowser, my former dog that passed away, was my soulmate. Like, I knew from the moment I had met him that he was my soulmate and that he was supposed to be in my life. And it was really hard losing him. However, he was definitely meant to be in my life during the time he was. We went through a lot of really hard stuff together. And if I had not had him, I don't know how I would have gotten through it. So I think they do count. I think they're definitely part of those conversations that we have before we come here, reincarnate here. And I mean, they're just as important as, your children or your family or your lovers, because I mean, my whole life revolves around him. Your whole life revolves around him.
And yeah, it was the same when you had Bowser.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie, like Jenna's roommate, who has a a cat, like she loves her cat in the same exact way.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of middle ground in terms of pets like that. It's either they're your soulmate, like that's how you felt about Bowser.
Yeah.
You consider them a family member and your best friend, or you're on the negative opposite side of the spectrum of you see people not treating animals well.
I think that's an internal thing, though. I think the people that don't treat animals well maybe don't take care of themselves well.
Yeah, you could
Like
certainly.
I feel like that's a big thing to dive into, but I think that that's more of a hatred that they have towards themselves that they take out on something that's innocent that can't really stand up for itself.
Right, or just a general lack of consciousness. People who have like drinking issues, their mind isn't really there in the sense that, or to the degree that it should be. But yeah, I mean, I do agree with you on that. I think pets do apply to like the red string theory or soul contract theory in a sense, because I know and have met people personally who, they went through depression and anxiety because they lost a family member, or the dominoes and the chips just didn't fall in their favor, and they got a pet during those really, really hard times.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me later, oh, dude, like I would have killed myself if I didn't have my dog Daisy or my cat Slippy. And not even speculating on whether they meant that as a serious statement, like they were actually going to harm themselves. It was just obvious that, oh, that's a hugely impactful event.
They say that a dog comes into your life when you need more love. And they say that cats come into your life when you're having a spiritual awakening or diving deeper into your spirituality, because cats were considered the gatekeepers of the spiritual realm, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Egyptian times or whenever. I don't have the research, but
Yep, definitely in Egyptian times.
What were the dogs representative of in Egyptian times? Do you remember?
Anubis comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I don't remember the significance of dogs. I mean, they could have certainly just had dogs, domesticated them, and just had them as pets, or used them for things. Not that Egyptians necessarily tended to sheep, but in terms of tending to livestock, herding livestock.
Right.
Thinking back to all of the hieroglyphs and monuments and relics from the Egyptian time, yeah, I just remember a heavy focus on cats and felines. You would see them in the tombs.
Royalty.
The royalty.
They're royalty.
Yeah.
Most of them act like royalty still, so I'm pretty sure that's relevant and very true.
They do. Well, it's interesting because cats are one of the only animals who domesticated themselves too.
I didn't know that.
They would kill mice near the towns and like villages and stuff, like all over the world, mind you, and all sorts of different populations and timelines. And they realized, oh, there's more mice around these people and around these buildings and villages. I'm just going to set up shop here and keep doing this. And one thing led to another. And oh, humans are like, wait, these cats are really zen and calm and chill. This isn't like trying to break a wild horse. This is
They're
cute,
very intelligent creatures.
very intelligent, very zen,
very self-sufficient,
very intuitive.
Mm-hmm. Where dogs are just like your buddy that always wants to party, right? They either want to sleep or party. So
right.
I feel like they only have two modes. It's this or hype.
This or hype, or where's my human?
Yes. I'm hungry.
Where's my mom? Where's my dad?
Right. So yeah, I definitely feel like we were brought together in this stage of our lives because we were ready for one another. Looking at a lot of the past relationships that I had I know you've retrospected and looked at some of the past relationships that you've had. I don't know that I would have been ready for our relationship had I not experienced some of the heartache, some of the different things that I've gone through in past relationships. I don't think that we would have made it, to be honest, because I had to go through some of those things to appreciate and value you as a partner and what you bring into my life, which is peace and calm and understanding. And that's not necessarily what I had looked for in the past. I didn't know this at the time, but I gravitated towards like chaos, and it was because I didn't love myself enough to know that that's not what I should have in my life.
Right. Well, I feel like for you, you were somebody who at one point you had worked 3 jobs, right?
Yeah,
You were in survival mode,
I was.
A, and B, you were always having to take care of yourself and take care of other people. You almost had like mom goggles on.
Mm-hmm.
You would always see people who couldn't take care of themselves in the way that you could. And you'd be like, oh, okay, like I need to fix this person, or I can help and aid this person. I can bring my brand of stability into this person's life. And so you would do it. It just felt natural to you. And when you're doing something like that and you're so focused on the care of others and helping others build themselves up and care for themselves, you're not stepping back from that painting of your life, and you're not looking and having introspection and saying, wait, do I need to be doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Should I,
what would be best for me?
Right.
Instead of thinking about what would be best for everyone else and who do I need to be for everyone else. When I chose myself after my relationship prior to you, when I actually chose myself and started working on myself in a really higher level, I started to attract what I actually needed into my life, which was the calm, the stability, the understanding. And I had never given myself that space before, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy how, yeah, when you actually start focusing on yourself, you attract the things that you should have in your life or need in your life.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you were in basically an 8-year long relationship that you had just gotten out of. I guess just to clarify, I think that's another element too why
Hunter wouldn't kiss me.
Why I had such a hard time. Yeah, I was
well, I mean, it was so I ended that relationship, and it was several. Like, obviously, we were still hanging out. We were best friends, and it was several months of us just doing our normal thing and hanging out and going to concerts and whatever before anything like that was even really put onto the table.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was refreshing because you were so respectful, although you had these feelings although you had all these feelings bottled up for over a decade, right? You were still super respectful of understanding that I needed to have space and I needed to deal with what I had been going through to be able to properly show up for a relationship.
Right.
And instead of someone who may take advantage of a situation like that, you just hung back and let me like figure it out, which was refreshing because not everyone, honestly, the vast majority of people wouldn't do that. That's how I knew it was real.
Right. Well, I'm the person too. Like, I live and breathe the law of attraction like every single day of my life without fail. I don't chase anything anymore. I attract. And in my head, I'm like, okay, part of me thinks that if something's meant for me, it will find me. And all I'm going to try to do is just try to be the best version of myself every day and keep navigating the frames of life just with tiny little micro decisions each and every day to attract whoever that thing or whoever that person is supposed to be. And yeah, I mean, it worked. I feel like it would have done a disservice to you and me to be the opposite and to try to like because I was like, okay, I do suspect Jenna has feelings for me.
Because she's only Snapchat me like 5 times and deleted it 17. So
Yep.
who
I'm
knows?
like, there's nothing else this could be. You're not texting me a taco recipe with 17 different ingredients. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna delete all the ingredients. Like, like no, I think I know what this is, but
you had no clue. Just kidding. I try to play it smooth. It's like when you're like 13 and you would text somebody that you liked and you'd be like, oh my god, my friend sent it wasn't me.
It would be like your safety net, your fallback. Like,
oh my gosh, why did my friend just say that? It was me all along.
I'm so sorry, Janet's took my phone.
If you didn't get the right response,
yeah,
you know?
like, yeah, it's like, okay, if I get the right response, I'm just
gonna roll
full
it.
send.
But otherwise, I'm definitely gonna blame my best friend for sending something that I didn't know about.
Jessica's so mean. This is a prank she plays. She steals my phone. She texts all the boys in my phone.
How many people actually believe those lies?
Maybe if you're younger, if you've never had it pulled on you, it's like, oh, okay, whatever, I guess. But if you're 15, 16,
right,
at that point, you probably
like,
know better.
Okay, come on now, really? I don't know if that one still works, if that excuse still works.
I think now it probably doesn't, unless you're like 12, 13, unless you're just a kid still.
It's so silly. I feel like it was more on like Messenger that people, oh my god. Because texting wasn't really big then. It was really expensive.
That's true. Oh, I forgot about that.
So I feel like it was more of Messenger. Or so-and-so really likes you. They just said that. I don't know. It's just goofy.
It's funny now because you don't really pay for texting. It's just included in your plan.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we were that age, 10, 12, 13, whatever, you would get charged. At a certain point, I remember you were getting charged per each text.
Yeah.
For everybody's phone plan.
So my boyfriend at the time was the only one in our friend group that really had a cell phone. And we were kind of on the verge of breaking up. I remember like I had finally gotten a cell phone. And we were kind of on the verge of breaking up. So we would make plans and it would always fall through. I'd be like ready sitting in my room and he just wouldn't show up. And I texted a lot because he wouldn't answer the phone. My mom, because I ran up the bill so much, my mom made me cash out a bond that my great grandma got me that wasn't even mature yet to pay the cell phone bill of like $300.
Oh my gosh.
Because of this stupid texting. Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty wild. She's like, you're gonna pay that bill.
Think money grows on trees?
Seriously.
I remember my sister did the same thing where I forget who she was texting or talking to. I think in the back of her head, she knew we got charged for texts, but just didn't care. But yeah, in her head, she's like, whatever. I'm just going to text whoever I want. And our phone bill was like thousands of dollars.
Oh, no.
Thousands, which it's not a lot in today's money, but in back then money, that was like more like a $9,000 phone bill.
Oh, my gosh.
Just crazy. My mom freaked out. You could see the steam coming out of her ears like a cartoon character. And to our surprise, she just called the phone company and explained the situation. Like, my daughter used my phone without me knowing. You need to drop all these charges. And they did.
Wow.
They were like, yo, okay, yeah, we get it.
Wow.
Looking back, that's very surprising that the phone company would do that.
Yeah.
I guess maybe just because texting was kind of like a newer technology.
Right.
At that point. I remember my first phone when I was 14 was a flip phone. It was a Kyocera brand, the most off generic brand imaginable. And before that was a tiny phone. Like, phones had just gotten small.
The little Zoolander phones.
The little Zoolander phones.
I have one somewhere downstairs in a bin in one of my totes of old things that I found, and it's smaller than a Snickers bar.
It's a little iPod Nano.
Yeah. What is this? What was I doing with this? Ay.
That's right when phones were like small and becoming like mass adopted. Before that, phones were bigger and bulkier. Or I remember my parents had a car phone
Oh
before
yeah.
cell phones took off.
Yeah.
You'd plug it into the cigarette lighter in your car.
Yep.
We ran out of gas one day. My mom's like, "Oh, I gotta use the phone," and it weighed like 20 pounds, and would plug it in, and it was like she was like a CIA operative, like in Benghazi. Like, it was just, to me as a child, it was like the most high tech piece of equipment imaginable.
Isn't that crazy?
And now it's like, oh, everyone just has one of these in their pocket.
It's so silly.
But yeah, I guess back to our relationship. You were in a relationship for 8 years. I was very nervous because I was attracted to you for the longest time. Very, very long time. Like a decade, honestly. You crossed my mind a lot when we had no relationship. I didn't talk to you. I was just like, I'd be at college and I'd be thinking, man, that pretty Jenna girl from that one store location we worked at. I just couldn't get you out of my head. And then we got close, became friends once we worked together, kept getting closer. And you were still dating that person. You were in that 8-year relationship at that time. And,
I had no indication that you thought of me like that. I just want everyone to be clear. I had no clue. I couldn't even read who Hunter was because he concealed his energy so well. But prior to us starting conversation over music and actually getting to know each other on a deeper level, I had no idea. Like, the who you are versus what my thought of maybe who you could be were two totally opposite people. Like, I knew kind of whereabouts where you were from, and that area in my mind, because I had never really been there, was just like farmland. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's just like a country bumpkin. Like, I have no idea, and that's like totally opposite of who he is. So it's really silly, and that honestly opened my eyes to the fact that we're not two-dimensional beings. Every single person that you come across or that it's in your life, we have so many different layers to us, and if you don't take the time to really dig in and ask questions and get to know people, perception can be completely off.
Oh yeah, 100. I remember you telling me, like, I thought you were just like a country bumpkin and you owned a truck.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed
His
fixing
name's
up
Hunter.
your truck.
Like, you would think.
And you wore flannel all the time, which that I wear a lot of flannels. I do.
But it's also like very like metal punk rock too.
It is very metal. Thinking back to when I was playing in a band, I want to say 9 times out of 10 when I played a show, I would just wear a flannel. And I don't know, it just fit with the look. Everybody looked at you. I would look at people in the crowds. I would see a lot of flannels. Very, very key piece of wardrobe to the metal scene.
Very key.
Still to this day. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the band Under Oath, but they released their own custom flannel. Other bands are starting to do that with this one specific company. I forgot the name, but it's definitely a trope. a very well adopted, well appreciated trope in the metal scene.
So wait, hang on. So we got way into left field. So
okay.
So I had no indication that Hunter liked me at all. I couldn't even tell who he was as a human being. And still, even after I had left the relationship I was in, after I had moved out of that home, I still had no idea. I'm still calling my best friend, like, I think there's something here, but I have no idea, and he won't kiss me, and I have no indication. We went to the China Lights, which is like a light art exhibit every October in the state that we live in. And the whole time I'm like, okay, if he likes me, he's gonna hold my hand. If he likes me, he's gonna hold my hand. And I'm like, okay, like, don't cross your arms, Jenna. Just be open. Like, get like, make space, right? Like, make space for this to happen. And it didn't happen. And then now, obviously, like, we've been in a relationship and we've talked about that moment. The whole time he was just worried about his nose running because he was cold. So he's like, oh my God, like, she can't see that my nose is running. I'm trying to conceal that. It's funny because the thoughts that both of us were having were
kind of the same in a sense.
Like, worried about the situation, but yeah, really goofy.
It was a very cold day because we went to the China Lights in like November, I think, or was it October? October, which in Wisconsin is sometimes a warm month, sometimes a cold month, and it was a little on the chillier side. And even in my flannel jacket that I had, I was like, gosh dang it, my nose will just not stop running. I don't have tissue. And every time she would look away, I would like I'd try to wipe it or take a napkin and like just quickly attend to it.
And here I'm just thinking, God, why won't he hold my hand? This is the perfect time for him to hold my hand. So it was just a lot of anxiety around the feelings that we had. But it all happened in due time. And I think it happened at the right time. Because then we were actually ready for the relationship that we have now. So
it did, exactly. And that was the other thing I was going to say. You had just gotten out of an 8-year relationship, and I had just gotten out of an 8-year relationship,
which is kind of crazy. What are the odds of that?
Yeah, statistically,
being so similar,
mathematically, that's very. Oh wow, was it just a soul contract, red string theory thing, where we both on that path no matter what?
Right.
We had already agreed to this because we had the most to offer each other's soul in terms of expanding our consciousness and growing. It almost seemed too perfect, too synchronistic.
Very synchronistic. So I think that energetically, and our relationship has proved that, there's been so many synchronicities in the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, showing me, okay, Jenna, you're in the right place at the right time. The day that we got Crash, I saw angel numbers over and over and over and over and over again. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. Every license plate that passed us, every exit that passed us, it was insane. I can't even, I think I lost count of how many different angel, it was nuts. It was also the day that I had a photo shoot for this podcast. So it was all these new beginnings. It was absolutely crazy. But that's one instance of the synchronicities that showed me that I was on the right path. And there's been so many within our relationship and our friendship that it's like comical. How can this be? How can this continue happening where, I don't know, you were talking about something at work that is completely unrelated and I would have no clue about, and I'll like bring up the same subject the next day. Like, I don't know, hot air balloons. Like just whatever. It's just really wild. But I think synchronicities are that, like, or it's just they're signs showing you that you're on the right wavelength.
Yeah, to me that is signs from your higher self, which some people subscribe to the idea that we all have our own, that we exist in multiple dimensions. In here we only exist in third dimensions, but there is a 4D or a fourth dimensional Jenna. There is a 4D Hunter. There is a 4D Ethel Jones, or your higher self. Some people think it's just the universe at large, or like a hybrid of those two viewpoints. But yeah, to me, synchronicity is basically, how do I put this? It's an explicit message from higher dimensions, because the universe has the higher mind, which we can see things here in 3 dimensions, but in the 4th dimensions, if you like look at the work of Carl Sagan, you'll see that if you are seeing things happening in the 4th dimension, you're seeing the whole event before it happened, while it happens, and the end result of that happening, which is very trippy to think about because our 3D brains can't really comprehend that necessarily.
Right.
So for some type of intelligence or consciousness in a higher dimension, like the 4th dimension, to send messages to us or to kind of arrange us or place us in the right spots to see angel numbers or to experience a synchronicity or coincidence, it's very easy from that viewpoint, from that elevated viewpoint. I guess just to clarify, angel numbers are usually triple numbers, like 111, 222, 555, which to me, the reason people started realizing that those are significant numbers in terms of them being synchronistic in nature is because you could see any pattern of numbers, but to see the same number twice, well, you see like 77 cents on a receipt, that doesn't necessarily mean something. But for you to see that same number for that third time, like 3 times in a row, that becomes statistically less and less likely that would happen naturally. Not that it doesn't, because it does, but it's just a very easy way for the universe or the higher mind at large to tell you, like, here's a message for you.
Right.
Whatever you're thinking about when you see this, keep going. You're going on the right path.
Well, I'm glad that my path led me to you.
I'm glad that my path led me to you.
So this is the end of our first date night segment. We will have many others where we can dive into these fun topics together of synchronicities and the higher mind and all of the fun things. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and you enjoyed meeting Hunter and Crash. Do you have anything that you'd like to leave? Any parting ideas, comments?
I guess I agree with what you said, where if we had met and became friends before we had gone through our own trauma, I don't think I would have been ready either for our relationship. Like, I don't think it would have lasted or worked out either. So I'm very grateful for the synchronicity and all of that. Yeah, I don't know. Whether or not you do subscribe to the idea of synchronicity, I think it's a really fun thing. And if you start paying attention to all of the little signs and meaningful coincidences, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how it changes your understanding and your viewpoints of how the universe works. Yeah, either way, it's a really fun thing to think about.
I think too, one of the lessons in this episode is that although you may go through really uncomfortable phases of life, if you continue to go, you continue to just strive and give it your all every day and reset your mind and continue to work towards loving yourself, the right things and people will come into your life.
100%.
Although things might be really challenging, you just have to continue to move forward.
Our dog's knocking over lamps. Almost.
I think it's time to feed him.
It is.
We will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of Metaphysical Millennial. Thank you so much for tuning in. If today's episode sparked something in your soul, leave a review and share it with a friend who's walking their own magical path. You can also come hang out with me on Instagram and Facebook, and remember, new episodes drop every other Wednesday. Follow and subscribe to stay connected. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and let your magic lead the way.